Welcome to the already
What he was trying to say is, welcome to the already canceled podcast, where we do absolutely no fact checking. And if you notice, there's only two of us because the show has already literally been canceled. Two of our supporting cast members are not here. Shout out to my lawyer and to Leo. So today, you guys have the wonderful opportunity to hear myself and Orlando, two certified dumbasses, talk about some of life's biggest issues and some of the world's biggest concerns. So
we have real solutions to real problems.
we have imaginary solutions to imaginary problems. Let's get it.
All right. Well, it's November 21st. It's Sunday evening, so we're kind of in the mindset to already getting ready for work tomorrow.
The Sunday scaries are a real thing.
Thanksgiving's coming up, and so this is actually the second Thanksgiving that we celebrate in the pandemic. 2020 was a crazy year, man. I remember going to the Houston rodeo, not thinking about too much, but out of nowhere you would hear cases about a coronavirus impacting Asia, Europe, and a few cases in the States. And I remember everything getting shut down in March, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So March 16th, 17th, around those dates.
Well, I mean, you saw stuff on the news, but we live in Texas, so we didn't really get affected by it till a little bit later. And then specifically in Houston, everything was pretty normal for a while, and then until they actually started shutting shit down.
Well, I think we shut down for a good 2 months, and we didn't see anything till probably June. That's whenever I think we all were under the impression that this was going to be probably like the Ebola virus where it affected Africa, and maybe we had a few cases here in the States, but everything kind of went away.
Yeah.
Or I guess there was a containment of it. But I think in June, I remember getting called back into work, and then not even a week, a few days later, we got sent back home again, which is, it was kind of a learning experience working from home.
Dude, I love it.
Well, you were still working at the other place.
I was working at a plant when COVID started, which, mind you, shout out WorldStar. WorldStar was posting videos about all this stuff before it went down, so get your news from WorldStar because they got breaking news. They were posting this shit like November 2019. I remember seeing it. They were posting videos of hospitals in China overwhelmed, people on the floor. They couldn't take care of anybody. So I was like, damn, this is going to be tough. Then fast forward till 2020, whenever it hits us, and I was like, we saw this shit coming. Shout out WorldStar. Random tangent, but yeah, in 2019, I was working at a plant. We were still working. It was business as usual. Nothing changed. Obviously, you can't work from home when you're making shit. You have to physically go in and make it. And then I got a new job, and then for all of 2020 and coming into this year partially, I got to work from home, which I learned I really, really like. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool experience, but it's a really you lose that human factor. I'm not sure how much you enjoy human factor. Probably not much.
Not a social person much, so.
But
I had fun.
I enjoy the human factor of being with people. So I think that kind of hit me pretty hard in 2020.
You know what I enjoyed? Waking up, not having to put pants on, chilling. I was in meetings with my boxers on. It was beautiful. Turned my camera off. Didn't let nobody even had to see me. It was straight chilling.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, how do you think the first few months? Like, I remember Trump coming out. He got criticized a lot for closing the border with, or not make. There's no physical border, but closing.
They had
down
flight restrictions where they couldn't
with Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that? What
were my thoughts on it
at the time? Like, you thought he over exaggerated, or he kind of did the right thing?
I didn't really have a strong opinion on it. I just thought it was funny how different the media spun the story. So you on the left, you had them, calling him a racist, calling him all kinds of shit. And then on the right, you're like, well, this is what we have to do. There's going to be a pandemic that breaks out if we don't do this. So just different ways that they were playing it. And then...
Well, even Nancy Pelosi was in Chinatown at the time. I remember.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of crazy how, but it's even crazier how people kind of just attacked the Asian community, which isn't
that was wild. Like people literally walking up to them. I don't think we've had any of that here. It's probably mostly New York because they dead ass. But
they're a different breed.
Yeah, it's a different breed. But they had people attack. People were getting attacked on the subway and stuff just for no damn reason. Doesn't make sense, but you know.
Yeah. So I think Trump started pretty hard, like as far as flight restrictions between different countries. But then the other thing I kind of liked about what he approached was create the ventilators. I don't know if you remember. He kind of forced GM to build ventilators, and I believe Ford was a different company that I helped create, because we were in a scarcity of the end. So a reason why I'm not a big fan of mask mandates is because at the very beginning they said that the only mask that can contain the coronavirus N95s, and so there was a scarcity of that, and so I believe Trump was a really big promoter of getting American-made ventilators to help people at the point where they couldn't breathe on their own anymore, or I believe even finding N95 masks.
I don't remember too much about like specifically the masks. I do remember it like popping up on my feed and seeing something about it, but I mean at that point, like at first they said masks didn't work, and then Fauci later came out and said that they were saying that because they didn't want to scare people into buying more masks and there being a shortage in the medical field. So they wanted to prioritize doctors and nurses and people who worked in hospitals having N95s as opposed to the rest of the population.
So even today, I don't think people are really disgusting. Even myself, I reuse my mask all the time, so I don't know how I'm being kept safe.
Dude, I got one mask and one mask only. That's it.
Or even now, it's like, you used to see, what do you call it? Cups, plastics, whatever, out through the waters. And now I think even you can see masks out in the beaches and whatnot. So that's a crazy thing how mandates have affected the environmental.
I live in Texas. COVID does not exist. COVID does not exist. You go to Walmart, it's like 70-30. Like 30% of people are wearing masks, and the people who do wear masks, they're wearing it under their nose. You got to
be careful, man. You might get canceled.
I don't give a damn. Like, what? Canceled from what? 2 of my boys didn't even show up today. They already canceled me. What else do I have to lose? I lie. The opinions expressed here are my own. They do not reflect anybody that I work or will be working for in the future. Please,
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Pop up.
Disclaimer. This is for entertainment purposes only. The views that are expressed here should not be taken seriously. Anyways, yeah, this is a bunch of bullshit.
But even another thing that got affected, I mean, obviously, like, we were in lockdowns. The only people working were essential workers.
Yeah.
My parents worked throughout the whole pandemic because they work at a grocery store.
But I don't mean to interrupt you, but like at first, I kind of get it. It's unknown. You don't know what this is. You don't know how deadly it is. But as months progressed, we came to the realization that it's not that deadly. I think scientifically proven, according to me, you have a 99% chance of survival with a 1% death rate. Not to be a dick, but to be a dick. Most of the people who have passed away are either overweight, their immune system is compromised,
people
or they have
with preconditions.
Preconditions, or they're elderly. So I'm young.
Or even they didn't die of COVID; they died of complications after them having COVID.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that we had to. I mean, I had a lot of friends that lost family members. I lost a family member, friends that. So, just prayers to them, and hopefully they're coping with the loss of their loved ones.
Yeah.
But during that time, it was so unknown, and the other thing that kind of, or go ahead before
you can't live in fear. That's my biggest thing. What am I gonna do? Just live in my basement for the rest of my life because there's something out there in the world that's gonna harm me? I could get in the car and.
But honestly, that's what all the media was producing. They were producing nothing but fear.
Yeah, but that's no way to live your life. You're just perpetually scared of something that you can't see. for anybody who's had COVID and survives it,
so how
which
much,
is most of us.
How much should we trust the media then? Sometimes I'm not asking you to answer, but just something to kind of put out there. Like, how much should we trust what we're told?
It's up to you as an individual to read between the lines and to understand their bias. So, I mean, obviously the media, they have a purpose, they have an agenda to push. So it's up. If I watch Fox News, I know they're going to be anything pro right wing. If I watch, a left wing media, I already know what their agenda is. So it's up to you to know their bias and truly understand the situation so you can make a decision for yourself. I'm not going to take somebody else's word for it. I'm going to read into it and decide for myself. And having did that with COVID, I'm not scared. Like, what?
Well,
it's unfortunate that people have passed away, but again, I'm not going to live my life in fear.
Yeah, but another thing that I find crazy is that, maybe we could talk about it a little bit down the road, but it's just how people don't live in fear or go out, but still live in a fear. So I'll address that maybe later. Just in the sense that people are okay with partying, going out to clubs and whatnot.
Shout out President Obama. Literally, man threw a party. Like, everybody's vaccinated. There's still breakthrough cases. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, people are okay with having parties and whatnot.
It's just virtue signaling.
Or going to clubs.
Virtue signaling.
But then they want to have mandates or whatnot. So we could talk about it a little bit down the road.
Yeah.
But I think the last topic I want to talk about at the start of the pandemic was the stock market. The stock market really tanked a lot.
That would have been the perfect time to invest or the perfect time to short.
Actually, Bitcoin was about $4,000 in March of 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, sounds about right because I don't know when the halving took place. So, I mean, it was probably around, probably closer to 10. I don't know. I could probably just check on my phone, but I'm not going to. It wasn't past 10 grand, though.
So you think Trump had a big to do, like, because the stock market, it did tank for about 2 to 3 months, but it kind of rose back. But do you think it was Trump's agenda to where, like, let's reopen back, let's fight it together?
Well, one of the biggest things that influences the stock market besides policy is just, human emotion. So if you're an investor.
Hey, but shout out to Daddy Trump.
Why?
Don't forget about Daddy Trump.
Why?
We got some paychecks.
Huh? Oh, shout out to the stimmy. And then shout out to Biden. We got another stimmy. And then another stimmy. And then now everything's expensive as shit. I hope y'all enjoyed the stimmies. But what was I talking about? Oh, the stock market. It's uncertainty. So everything's tanking. Obviously, the economy's shutting down. Producers aren't going to be able to produce. Revenues are going to decrease. Evaluations are going to decrease. So as an investor, you just, what do? You're better to move into cash than to move into an asset that, has a high level of uncertainty. And then once the economy started reopening, and then people kind of started seeing like, okay, we're going to get through this. People started coming in back into the stock market. Stimmies start coming out. QE, quantitative easing, they start doing more of that. And then they're just pumping money into the economy. So it's like this shit, we're just hitting new all-time highs after new all-time highs.
Hey, but I'm going to give a big shout out to Daddy Trump, though.
Why?
Hey, I got 2 or 3 stimmies from him.
Yeah.
No, but I do think it was crazy because...
It was 1, wasn't it? Or was it 2?
No, he gave out 2, I think.
He gave out the 600 and then
no, I think he
1200.
Gave out 3.
No, it was 2. He gave one out in December, which was... I don't fucking know. I'm pretty sure he gave out 2, though. I don't think he gave out a third one.
Biden didn't give out any stimmies.
I think he gave out 1, didn't he? I don't know. I would fact check us because we don't do none of that.
Hey, I mean, I get myself off of Reddit, QAnon.
Only trustworthy sources from independent reporters.
And Facebook groups.
Yeah. And WhatsApp groups.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, we don't know shit about shit, but we're going to talk about it anyways.
But even Trump did save also the airlines and a lot of small companies. I don't know if they're gonna get screwed over long term because they have to pay back certain loans.
That's just bad business practices, though. Like, you don't have enough cash flow to keep you afloat for a couple months. That's just bad business practice. Like, I don't really feel bad for them if they go out of business. Like, what the fuck were you doing?
Hey, but that's why the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor.
Why?
I don't know.
Stocks, invest. That's how, I'm broke, but I'm trying. It's worth the effort.
Yeah, so but it's crazy though, like how everything was literally affected by the pandemic. And another thing that also went down in 2020 was the election. So do you think a lot of the restrictions were kind of lifted because of the election?
Look, I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart. I love a good conspiracy theory.
So you believe the earth is flat?
No. I don't believe all that. Moon landing, we can talk about. Earth is flat.
But have you ever seen the earth?
Huh?
Have you ever seen the earth?
No.
I'm
I'm just another peasant that lives on it. I don't get that pleasure. Even though I'm a professional astronaut, I don't necessarily.
I almost caught you slipping.
Yeah, my spaceship only travels on land though. It's unfortunate. But do I think what were we talking about, the election?
So was he were pandemic restrictions lifted because of the election? But also before the election kind of kicked off, like I remember Biden was hiding for a while.
Well, he was hiding. He ran his entire election in the basement.
Just like you, huh?
Huh? Yeah, it's just like me. That's why I voted for him.
Hey, but during that time also we're not only seeing like restrictions and all that stuff, but we saw a lot of social movements happening because of I would say like because of people being
social justice, racial injustice. Yeah, I think in general, one of the biggest things was that Trump was just such a polarizing figure. You either loved him, you hated him, or you supported him in the closet. Like, that was kind of the three categories. You might not agree with everything that he does, but the economy was doing well, even though they tried to raise interest rates, but they couldn't. But that's a different story.
Shout out to gas prices.
Yeah, the economy was doing well on paper, allegedly. I mean, things were normal. They were decent. It was just the rhetoric that was coming from the White House and from the president that was really making people upset. And we all saw that coming from the jump, from his campaign, the things that he was saying, trying to run more of a populist campaign, appealing to people, people who felt forgotten and people who felt like they'd been left out of the conversation, didn't have a voice in politics. And he just comes in and just says all this shit that you would say with your buddies on, whenever you guys are drinking. Just go ahead and just let it all out.
Yeah, I think he was really, really bombarded, really judged harshly by the media. But then again, I think Trump enjoyed all that stuff because it was just another publicity.
I think he was a snowflake.
So, but it's like how they say, no bad publicity.
No publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah. So, but then again, it's like we saw all these racial injustices. We saw. I think who was running for president at the time. I think
on which side?
Democrats. So it was Biden,
Kamala Harris, Beto,
Bernie Sanders,
Bernie Sanders,
Elizabeth Warren.
Shut up, Pocahontas. One of the guy, I forget what his name. He's one of the Castro brothers from San Antonio. He was running too. Got a fucked up hairline. Doesn't speak Spanish. Tries to, whatever. Different conversation altogether. Tries to play identity politics, but man can't speak Spanish. That's a tough one, Chief.
Hey, that's a future podcast topic. Texas elections are coming up pretty soon, so
yeah.
We'll talk about it soon.
But Andrew Yang was running too. Shout out UBI.
Hey, he was trying to give us $1,000
a month.
A month. So I wonder how much the economy would have been even more messed up.
That's a different discussion altogether, I think. But then on the right, we had my Senator Ted Cruz, which...
No, he wasn't running. It was just
You
Trump.
did run.
No, that was...
Oh, you're right. No.
Come on, man. Hey, this guy gets...
I'm going back to 2016. Yeah, it was just Trump. But they didn't have any good candidates. Like, okay, if you're a diehard Bernie bro, you're gonna vote for Bernie. If you agree with leftist and socialist policies, obviously that's your guy. Even though he's a millionaire, we're not going to talk about that. The man's a millionaire and wants to charge everybody else taxes. To each their own. But Elizabeth Warren, also a very wealthy woman.
He's a smart socialist.
Yeah, he's a snake salesman. That's what he is. He's selling you a dream that they can't fulfill.
No comment.
But you want to know the irony in that? The first time I ever voted, I voted for Bernie Sanders. I voted in the primary in 2016.
You vote for nothing but losers, huh?
Huh? Baby, all I know is taking L's. But I forgot where the hell I was going with this. But yeah, that was who was running. And
but ultimately, like, or at the end, Biden won, and it was kind of messed up because I think that was the year that Bernie Sanders should have won. But then again,
they hold him out in 2016.
Yeah, but I think this year he got hold out again because Elizabeth Warren stayed a little longer during the race.
He's gonna get hold out every year. They don't want him to win, and I don't think he can win a major election because of the stigma around socialism.
Yeah, and that's another crazy thing that the Democratic Party hasn't. They're not solidified, I guess, because they have a lot of young people that love Bernie, love AOC, love.
They have factions within the party.
Yeah,
but in general, this is kind of off topic, kind of just macro politics. The country's going to move to the left, so the far left on the Democratic Party is going to push even the Republican Party to the left a little bit. So in the future, what we're going to see is Republicans supporting decriminalization of things like weed, drugs, and maybe
it
even
is
supporting
a shift and
healthcare.
It started with Donald Trump. Donald Trump I don't think he's a conservative at all. I think you have your conservative as far as Ronald Reagan, your Bushes.
That's
and then you have your
conversation.
Your Donald Trump. So even like you're saying, to your point, it's like the spectrum is like they were trying to compare Donald Trump like Ronald Reagan, but Ronald Reagan was a hardcore Republican during his last few years.
I think Trump, the way he was, his policies were in line. Him as a person, I don't think so. But you could attribute that to the people that he had on his side, the people that he had, in his cabinet, or kind of guiding him through the process, I guess you could say. But him as a person, I would agree with you. I don't think he was truly a conservative. Man had 3 wives. He was like, I mean, shout out to you, but I've never met somebody who claimed to be conservative that's been married 3 times.
Hopefully not me. I'm trying to get married once.
I think in general, whether you liked him or you didn't like him, that's a lesson to be noted in terms of how to win an election. He stuck to he basically just tried to cater to the people who felt like they weren't being heard. I think that was his biggest factor. They like on the left, they try to use all the jargon, all the stuff that people that go to Ivy League schools, the terms that they use and shit, the pronouns that they use, all of that kind of stuff. Like, regular, ordinary people don't give a fuck about that shit. Regular, ordinary people want to have a job, they want to go home to their families, and they want to be left alone.
And I think what they care most about is their 401k plans or their retirement packages.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much like the out of the box normal or day-to-day lives. And I think Trump was a huge supporter of getting these companies to promote more growth on their 401ks and whatnot. And I think some people did
I don't know about that, but
did cash out pretty big.
For what?
401ks? Yeah.
That, I don't know. I would attribute that more to fiscal and monetary policy with quantitative easing, but that's an entirely different subject altogether. Shout out to Federal Reserve propping up the stock market. Appreciate you.
Hey, they control everything.
Shout out Mr. Powell. I hope you get renominated. Keep that money printer going, baby.
All right, but to move forward, so basically it ended up being Biden versus Trump, and then a lot of controversies happened because it was like, did Biden and Trump ever have a debate?
Yeah, they were supposed to have 3. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think they had 2. And I remember the last one was right before Trump tested positive for COVID, which is hilarious. I don't care if you like it or you don't. That is hilarious. It's funny as shit. The irony. But I think the whole game plan was Trump to try to stay calm, cool, collected, try to seem quote unquote presidential, like he was in control, and allow Trump to be Trump and be emotional. And
but I think they only had one one debate. I don't remember.
I don't remember. It could have been one. It could have been two.
But I remember that debate was it was a circus. Basically, both of them were going. I mean, well, you expected from Trump going back and forth, but I think even Biden, and that's where a lot of people.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Shout out to all of
that
our
one
friends.
is fact checked. That is an actual quote from the man's Twitter.
Sorry,
you're good.
But I think that's where a lot of people started saying like, oh, is Biden like drugged up and with a lot of Adderall, or is he in his full senses? Is he equipped to hold office?
I mean, if you were running for office, why wouldn't you take an Addy? I'm pretty sure Trump took one. I'm pretty sure Trump's taken one for a lot of years.
I don't know.
There's conspiracy theories out there.
But essentially ended up being to where we come to November. What was the election
allegedly
date?
Huh?
November 2nd, November 3rd.
For what?
For the election date?
I don't remember the date. I think it's 2nd.
Honestly, I thought Trump had it won. And I still think Trump won it. But that's where the huge controversy came up that the election was rigged.
Had it not been for COVID, I think he would have ran away with it. I think he would have ran it. Because other than him as an individual, I think people agreed with everything else. Ordinary people agree with everything else.
But I don't know. I heard a lot of stories that a lot of dead people, because the whole issue too was mail-in voting. So
but that's been a thing forever. That's not a new phenomenon. Like,
no,
I understand like the idea of it. It's a perfect setup if you want to rig an election. I don't see it though.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess those are things that I think there's still some states that are having hearings and whatnot. It's not really talked about too much on the media.
Yeah.
But after that, Biden ended up winning with 81 million votes.
I think it was or
80.
That election had the highest turnout in U.S. history, right? Allegedly.
I don't believe it, but
Yeah.
But
so you stand firm in the idea that you think that the election was rigged or stolen?
I believe so. But then again, it's like
based off of mail-in voting or what else?
Well, a lot of states came out. So before you vote, there's a certain number of people that are registered to vote.
Yeah.
So some states had the amount of registered people to vote, but then after the election, even more people voted than that registered number.
Okay. I can't deny nor
I can't talk too much about it because I get my news from Fox and CNN. I don't have any links on me.
He really is QAnon, but he doesn't want to admit it.
No, I'll say it. Like, there's a lot of things.
Shout out 4chan.
That said it. But also, like in Arizona, there's a lot of votes that were changed, allegedly. I don't know. But to me, it's like as a U.S. citizen, we should all be concerned, whether if you're Democratic or Republican.
Yeah. You
should be concerned. If there's even a suspicion, then we should kind of determine, like, hey, was it really rigged? Was it not? I mean, at the end of the day, the sitting president right now is Joe Biden. I respect that.
That's your president?
Yeah, I mean, he's the president of the United States.
Okay. So we disagree on the idea that the election was stolen. I think you made your point. I think,
but it's a possibility because even the whole the domain, I think that's a company of.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. That's not something
of where you vote. Some of the companies that they were faulted to, or they were known to be changing the votes to different people. So I think that's came out. But again, I don't have all the information on me. Sometimes it's just things you read, but I don't know. I'm the type of person, I hear something, I want to know more. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like I said, Joe Biden's president. I respect that. How do you think he's... And actually leading up to on January 6th, whenever, what was it, a few days before Joe Biden took office, right? Like a week, 10 days before.
You had the insurrection because people thought the election was stolen, so they stormed the Capitol.
But that's another crazy topic too, because a lot of people believe that it was an inside job. As far as like, Antifa. No. I haven't heard of Antifa in a while. I wonder what they've been up to.
Off the top of my head, I can't confirm nor deny this. I might be making this up, but I think at this point they've proved that the FBI had some type of involvement with organizing that. So that I think that's something to look into. But at the end of the day, they're gonna bury any wrongdoings that they did, so we'll never really find out. It's been, what? It's been how long since JFK got murdered, and to this day, we don't. All those documents still haven't been unclassified. So,
well, actually, that was something else that happened last year. 2020. That a lot of documents were unsealed, but yeah. I think some of them still were kept sealed.
They didn't unclassify all of them. They unclassified some of them. They didn't unclassify all of them. So, but to get to the point, it's just
but the crazy thing is that there's till this day they're still having hearings on January 6th, and so I wonder how much money is being wasted, or should it even be, or my question is, if January 6th is being investigated, why isn't the election being investigated too? So those are just questions that I ask myself, or is that money being spent right? So,
in regards to January 6th, I think my opinion is it's we the people. So we give the government the power to do what they do. The government doesn't tell us what we can do. I don't necessarily have a problem with people storming the Capitol because that's our building. We tell y'all motherfuckers what to do. We elect y'all. Y'all are supposed to work for us. So if the people decide that this shit ain't it, y'all aren't doing what we want to do, what we want done, we should have the right to be able to do that. Now, it's polarizing because it was all Trump supporters, and obviously the majority of the country, according to the election, doesn't agree with that. So, I mean, the waters get a little bit murky. But do I feel like it's a crime for people to rise up against their government? Absolutely not.
I think no, actually, that's why we have the Bill of Rights, and the Second Amendment was really written because of that.
Now, I think it's hilarious that some of them were wearing costumes in there. It's also unfortunate that people got shot. I think I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think one person
people
died.
Lost their, I think 1 or 2, maybe 3.
I think I mean that's really unfortunate that has to happen, but I mean that's human history. Empires fall, empires rise, empires fall, revolutions. It's nothing new if you study history. So, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, will Biden. I mean, we could talk about so many little detailed things that happened in 2020. Maybe in the future we can talk about more stuff. But at the end of the day, Biden is president, and I remember whenever gas prices started going up. Yeah, but so I mean, you could attribute some of that to them, policy in terms of renewable energy and them shutting down pipelines, like the Keystone Pipeline. But the majority of that I think is gonna be from OPEC. So at a certain point, OPEC decided that they were going to cut production, OPEC being a coalition of some of the largest oil-producing nations in the world. They came to they meet, and then they come to a consensus of how much oil they're going to produce to distribute to the rest of the world, how much energy they're going to distribute to the rest of the world. So when the pandemic hit, obviously there's less travel, there's less of a demand for oil. So at some point, oil prices actually went negative, if I remember correctly, meaning the shit was worthless. They had way more than they had a demand for. So because of that, they decided that they were going to cut oil production, and ever since then, they've been kind of, tapering up, trying to put more into circulation.
Well, I'm sure they're just trying to get their money back too.
That's the point I was about to make. Like, they probably lost a lot of money during the pandemic, so in order to make some of that money back, they said, we're not going to produce enough oil to meet demand. We're going to kind of take a step back, kind of leave that difference there so we can make a higher profit margin to make up for some of the losses that we took during the pandemic. But, I mean, that's just business. I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think anybody would fault them, because if anybody was running those companies, you would want to make that money back too. Obviously, for us who buy oil, who buy gas on a regular basis, that sucks. But for people who, blame Biden for high gas prices, I think that's kind of misguided anger.
No, I think it's fair enough because even today I was reading or I read a screenshot of a CNN article saying that the president had nothing to do with gas prices, and then a week or 10 days later, that same CNN article or writer wrote an article saying, "Oh, Biden's working with I don't know who to get the gas prices down." So I don't blame.
I mean that's just PR. All they did was they reached out to Saudi Arabia, which is where we get I don't know. I think where we get the majority of our oil from. Which, if y'all want to talk about Saudi Arabia, that's an entirely different subject. It's really interesting, but he reached out to the crown prince of the Saudis, which we're not on good terms with because, sidetrack, they murdered allegedly a reporter that was trying to expose them, and they murdered him in Turkey. So because of that, it was exposed. They got that on video.
It was a writer, or what do you call it? A writer, right?
Yeah, it was a reporter or writer, writing a negative article
that worked for the Washington Post.
Yeah, right. They killed. Was he American?
I don't know if he was American. He was from Saudi Arabia, but he was living in the United States.
But yeah,
he went to Turkey for some business, and that's whenever he never came out of the. Yeah, well, he came out, but in pieces.
Sleeping with the fishes, that's tough.
Allegedly.
But so we're not on good terms with the Saudis because of that. I think Biden at some point said that there was going to be repercussions for those actions because it's pretty obvious that they were responsible for his death or his murder. So,
but I think Trump kind of kept it neutral, right? He didn't really say, he didn't pick a side on that, right?
I mean, when that's a yeah. I don't know because I don't my mind doesn't go back that far.
No, but we don't have to really get into much detail. So basically, the point is that I guess Biden did talk to Saudi Arabia to, I guess
he talked to somebody trying to get more oil more oil produced to bring down gas prices.
I don't know. I'll be the type of person to still blame Biden for the gas prices, to blame him for inflation.
Let's go, Brandon.
Hey, shout out.
Oh, so shout out to Australia. I don't know if you've seen like them protesting pandemic shutdowns, but they've also like taken the "Let's Go Brandon." I forget what their prime minister's name is, but they've kind of rebundled it to fit his name, and it's kind of similar, the same meaning. Let's go, Brandon.
No, but shout out to all these countries, even in France. I've seen videos from France,
Italy, the Netherlands,
a lot of European countries that are fighting back against these restrictions, and one of them is a vaccine mandate passport. And I have close ties to New York, and in the last 2 years, I think I've traveled 3 times, and my stays are maybe a week or more. I have family out there. Shout out to my family in New York if you're watching. Probably not.
Yeah.
And please don't hate me for my point of views and whatnot.
He's a Texas boy through and through. So
even have my cowboy boots on right now.
We kept them in the closet today, but we got them.
No, but I'm totally against vaccine passports.
Yeah, me too.
I think the Constitution is really clear about us having freedoms.
I think it's interesting how quick people are to exchange their freedoms for safety. Like,
but
you're willing to live.
The vaccine isn't 100% guaranteed, so I don't understand how is that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still breakthrough cases, and you still can't get infected with COVID even if you have the COVID vaccine because it wears off after a certain amount of time. So,
no, but
if we're constantly gonna get boosters, and every 6 months you have to get a shot, like, is this shit just not the flu? Is this just not an annual occurrence where it mutates? There's a new variation of it. You have to adapt the vaccine to the mutation to protect the people. But I don't even get the flu shot.
But you don't know what I don't get. So I ask a lot of people that work in the science field. I know a few people
that's fake news. You don't know nobody.
Please.
That I'm gonna fact check you on. That is fake news.
No, first of all, one of the guys at my church, he's a doctor. He just finished. He became a doctor in El Salvador. He came to the States and he's finishing up his residency and all that stuff to work here in the States.
What's the president of El Salvador's name?
Like Nayib Bukele.
Shout out to that guy.
But anyways,
shout out to that guy.
Then I have another friend that she went to Baylor. Then I think she went to like a school in Dallas. But now she's at the Johns Hopkins University to become a doctor.
Okay.
So what do you mean I don't know about doctors? So both of these individuals, like they're in favor of the vaccine. And I lost my train of thought already. But either way, so
educated, but we still stupid.
Hey, you know, I have a 15-minute what is it? Attention span.
Yeah. Generation. Are we Gen Z or are we millennials?
We're in the middle.
I'm Gen Z because I listen to mumble rap. That's how I know.
I listen to Tekashi 6ix9ine. Shout out.
Scum Gang.
You can't forget about our boy Kevin Gates.
Oh.
Shout out.
Oof. Kevin Gates changed my life.
Hey, rest in peace. What's his name? Rest in peace. Who?
Oh, Young Dolph. Shout out Young Dolph.
Rest in peace.
He was a Dolphin. He was the Socrates of Memphis. Everything he said was deep, philosophical. He preached about bettering yourself. And excuse my language, Mom, I'm sorry. He preached about not loving these hoes. So, shout out Young Dolph.
Shout out. No, but going back to I'm gonna see if I can remember my topic or what I was gonna lead into. But like a lot of the people that I know that are in the science field or whatever,
yeah, they're
in favor of these vaccines. But and what they say, it's like they brought their best people in 1 year or in less than a year to study the vaccine, to find a vaccine to help. But I'm like, if they did that for the vaccine, why can't they do that for cancer? Why can't they do that for other diseases? Why can't they do that for Alzheimer's? So I don't know. I'm just asking the questions, right? I don't have the answers.
I mean, there's conspiracy theories behind that. Obviously, I don't have a tinfoil hat around me. If not, I would put it on because I would definitely indulge in those type of conversations. But
we could leave it for another day.
We'll talk about that on a separate occasion. But
because I mean, we're kind of wrapping up 2 or 3 years of.
We're just catching up on what life's been like up to this point, basically, in terms of policy and governments.
Yeah. So hopefully, I know the restrictions about Biden and OSHA and making it mandatory for government employees. I know that's going to be.
I mean, my biggest thing is I think that's fucked up. Like at the basic level, you're gonna put people out of a job because they don't want to follow your restrictions. Like I understand the fact that you want to make sure that hospitals aren't overwhelmed, but how do you stop it?
Wait, Christian, but if you're vaccinated, if you get the vaccine, right, you get all 2 shots and the booster shot, so that means that you're
fully quote unquote fully vaccinated.
But you don't get that means that you don't get COVID, right? And you can't.
No, you can still get COVID. Even.
No, but a vaccine means that you can't. A vaccine means that you can't spread COVID.
You sarcastic sack as shit. No,
that's what a vaccine stands for. A vaccine means that you once you get the vaccine, you could probably you'll still get sick, but you can't spread the disease anymore, or not the disease, the virus.
So. No,
Christian, I don't get it.
It's like
so if you're vaccinated and I'm not vaccinated, what are you afraid of? You shouldn't get COVID.
Well, first of all, for the record, I'm going to expose myself. I am not vaccinated.
Shout out.
I have not gotten the vaccine. Not because honestly, the reason I didn't get vaccinated is just like I actually had COVID.
He's trying to have kids.
Yeah, I don't want my balls to swell up. I didn't learn that until recently. But I had COVID. It wasn't that bad. Like, I stayed at home for a few days.
Again, not downplaying all the people that have either.
No, I'm talking about for myself personally. But I'm a relatively healthy individual.
But just again, we're sorry for any losses that you may have suffered. But again, I had a COVID too, and I'm exposing myself. I didn't tell a lot of people, but I had a COVID in October, and my mom did go through it pretty bad. So my thing is if you feel like you should get vaccinated, if you feel like that'll keep you safe, then go ahead. But just know like there's certain ingredients that you may be allergic to. There's certain effects that you're not aware that are gonna happen.
Yeah, but I mean one of the things that also makes me upset is the fact that they don't take, I don't know how to word this. But if you've had COVID, obviously you have the antibodies for it.
Hey, it's the best antibodies you can have, man.
No, I'm saying, but so
wait, antibodies or anti-Biden?
I don't fucking know. for the sake of argument, to make Orlando happy, we're gonna say anti-Biden. Let's go, Brandon. Shout out to all the people we saw in Vegas. Hey. And for the record, I also voted for Joe Biden.
Hey, to that guy that tried to fight us in Vegas.
Oh, I'm going off on a complete tangent here, but cheat to win. Cheat to win. Shout out to the Astros, baby. Bust out the trash cans. Fuck everybody else.
Hey, if we would have busted out the trash cans, we would have been World Series champions.
If we would have busted out the trash cans, we would have beat COVID already. But anyway.
I do not condone that statement.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is I don't understand the fact why they don't take natural immunity as a form of, protection. I've had COVID. Obviously, speaking for myself, I'm a relatively healthy individual. It wasn't that bad. I was tired for like 2 days. My throat was sore, and I had a fever when I woke up one morning. Took a Tylenol, it went away. Like, I lost taste for about a week. I tested negative after like 11 days. I stayed at home the whole 11 days, and it was just like, all right, I tested negative. I'm good. I can go back out into the world. I've had the flu multiple times in my life. It was a moderate to really bad flu for me personally. I didn't have any of the respiratory issues. I didn't have trouble breathing at any point. I just slept that shit off.
But that's something else we could talk about. We could talk about in the future is like how our foods are not healthy, how our foods are full of things that
and how the first thing they tell you to do is take a shot instead of telling you to live a healthy lifestyle to begin with. Your immune system is your first form of defense. If your immune system is compromised, like if you don't eat healthy, if you don't exercise on a regular basis, if you don't sleep well on a regular basis, obviously you're weakening your immune system, which is putting you at a higher risk. So things to prioritize. But the first thing that they want to sell you is immunization. Shout out to Moderna. Shout out to Pfizer. Y'all stock. Thank you.
Shout out to Bill Gates.
Shout out to Bill Gates. But
hey, if it weren't for Bill Gates, we would have never had a global pandemic.
I don't know about that one, Chief. Allegedly, I don't.
Allegedly.
I don't care about getting canceled, but I don't want to get sued
or killed.
We're not that special. We're so irrelevant in the world. But yeah, I mean the whole like vaccine passport thing, the whole thing that Biden's trying to implement. Let people make their decisions. If that's what they feel is best for their health, I don't think it's fair. I think you're doing a bigger detriment to the person by putting them out of work, and you're gonna make them depressed because they don't have a way to live.
No, but you're making them dependable to the government, because at the end of the day, the government's gonna have to go ahead and pay your bills. But
that's also true.
But as a Christian, I believe a whole different spectrum of what's going on. But it's a later conversation.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you on that. But
hey, it's written. Everything that's been going through, it's written on the Bible. So I don't know, Chief.
No comment.
But I think it's been a crazy 2020. It's been a crazy 2021. It's gonna be a crazier 2022. You
want to know? Quick tangent. What was the highest killer in 2020? I think it was this year, 2021.
The flu.
Overdoses. Fentanyl overdoses.
Hey, shout out to the FDA for approving the
opioid crisis. Like, y'all, we're worried about a pandemic, but I mean, there's people dropping dead from overdoses.
Okay,
because you're locking them in their houses. They don't have a way to live.
Let me do a quick tangent then. So it's like, how many people trust pharmaceutical companies?
Very little.
Then why do we trust the vaccines that they're pushing out?
Because the government's pushing them. Mainstream media is pushing them.
So that's just something to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's my biggest issue. If you want to get a vaccine, go ahead and get a vaccine. But none of these companies have a good standards. Johnson & Johnson, I don't know how the hell they're still existing. These people...
Allegedly.
No, this is facts.
Allegedly.
No, this is...
My lawyer's not here. If not, he would tell you to say allegedly.
Their products were causing cancer on kids. And
allegedly.
And they're not allowed to be... Some of them are not allowed to be sold in the United States, but they're still being sold around the whole world.
Look, bro, the way I was raised, if Vicks can't solve it, you're fucked.
But I'm just saying, how do we trust Johnson & Johnson? And then Moderna, I don't think they have a proven track record. And Pfizer, I think the greatest pill that they came out was Viagra.
Hey, that's helped a lot of people.
Shout out to all the old people watching
the
podcast.
Can I give a quick shout out real quick? Shout out Whiskey Dick. Shout out Viagra. Now, I mean, to your point, I don't necessarily have anything against the companies themselves. For me, it's just, again, I'm a relatively healthy individual. If I do happen to come down with COVID and I feel the symptoms, allegedly, and I happen to come down with the symptoms, like, okay, like, see, I work from home.
Another thing I
can isolate. There's not that big of a deal for me.
But I don't believe that people have gotten COVID twice. I haven't heard of it.
So, anecdotal evidence. I got COVID in, oh fuck, I don't think I want to tell the story because I didn't tell anybody. But
don't say it.
I'm already canceled. Anecdotally, I got COVID. I went to a family party in, I think it was November of 2020. 2 days later, started having symptoms, got tested positive for COVID. A week later, felt fine, got tested negative, whatever. In June or July, I went to a wedding, and I stayed with my friend at his parents' house. I show up, and he's coughing, he's sneezing, and he does the classic what everybody blames it on. He's like, it's allergies. Motherfucker, you don't have allergies. I've known you since I was a kid. You don't get allergies. I get allergies. That's not allergies. You don't cough when you have allergies for the most part. Allegedly. So, whatever. We're hanging out. We spend the weekend together. We go to the wedding. We might have to cut this part out. I don't think he ever told the person whose wedding it was. But one of our other friends, a few days later, she felt sick.
Allegedly.
She went to go get tested. She tested positive for COVID.
Allegedly.
And then one of my other friends, he was vaccinated. I had already had COVID. And then he just texted me one day, and he was like, does your throat hurt? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. It does. It feels a little itchy. Why? And he was like, because this friend just tested positive for COVID. He went to go get tested, and he tested positive. I was like, well, ain't that some shit?
Yeah, but I don't believe you had COVID unless you would have. If you would have said, "Oh, I tested positive again."
Well, I was working from home at that time, so I didn't really feel the need to. I just stayed at home for a few days.
But honestly, I thought I had COVID last year. 2 years ago, 2019. I went to New York because COVID came to the States way before whatever dates they announced. But I remember I was in New York and I was coughing. I was a lot of mucus. It was bad. But I mean, I made it through. Thankfully, a majority of my family members, except for one, have made it through. So it's been a tough year for a lot of people, and I think it's gonna be tougher. I think 2022, a lot of people are saying recessions are gonna happen.
Well, I mean, we've been in the pandemic for, at this point. I mean, if you start when the first breakout happened in Wuhan, China, I think that's how you pronounce Wuhan, not Wuhan.
But what? Oh, it's
been 2 years
with the China virus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Donald Trump.
So at this point, it's been 2 years. Like, are we just gonna get boosters every 6 months, or is everybody gonna have to get immunized? Is everybody gonna have to get the shot? Like, okay, if we get 100% immunization rate, is that gonna solve the problem?
Nope.
And I don't necessarily think I can't answer that, but there's still gonna be, I think, lingering breakthrough cases. So what's the solution? Like, are you just gonna like Europe right now? I think Austria's shutting down. I think Germany's having on their 5th fucking wave. Like, this shit isn't going away. This isn't a pandemic. This is an endemic. It's continuous. So you can continue to blame the unvaccinated, which are at this point, the more you tell me to take something, I'm not gonna take it, just because fuck the government. Like, what the fuck? Like, honestly, I'm not. If it was literally my choice, I would try to make that choice. But if you try to force it on me, go fuck yourself. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, it's just crazy that we have a lot of friends that have gotten vaccinated. I know a few of them. Their companies that they work for are being obligated.
Yeah, they're being forced to take it. And I think anecdotally, one of them said that about roughly like 40 to 50% of them weren't vaccinated. So that's 40 to 50% of their workforce that's going to be laid off. So whatever they're working on is going to, it's going to put a strain on whatever they're trying to accomplish. It's going to put people out of work. So it's going to, it's going to put a strain on what's already an existing, supply chain crisis, which we could also get into.
Yeah, I mean.
And then it's also going to put more people under, they're going to be unemployed, so they're going to have to file for unemployment,
Yeah, I think times aren't going to get easier. A lot of people are saying that this is a pandemic, that the virus, that a lot of our wars are going to be either cyber wars, which are already occurring right now.
I mean, you could make the claim that we're already at war.
And a lot of wars are going to be bio wars too. I believe it.
I think that's funny though. Why would you fuck yourself in the process of fucking somebody else? So, I mean, I understand the argument that possibly China intentionally released this, but there was American scientists that were arrested. I think you've looked into this as well.
No, it was an American scientist. It was Chinese scientists that were
working at an American university?
At Harvard.
Okay. Well,
two of them were
allegedly.
No, this is, you could go to the DOJ website and you can see the charges.
Okay, so not allegedly.
Yeah, so
but that's also some of the other bullshit.
And Obama's administration was a huge funder of the Wuhan. I'm not saying that there's any connections, but
it's the butterfly effect.
But sometimes I don't know if what's the guy in charge? Anthony Fauci?
Dr. Fauci? COVID is no longer COVID-19. It is the ouchie Fauci. Ouchie. You
gotta get the ouchie.
Yeah.
The Fauci ouchie.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying maybe he's just trying to clean his hands, or wash his hands. That's a possibility.
I mean, it is a possibility. It's something, but that's one of the things that upsets me the most. The fact that as soon as you mention the idea of a lab leak theory, or the fact that this came from a lab, you're not gonna sell me on the fact that this came from a bat. Like, that's, at this point, most people understand that that's bullshit. Like, it's pretty clear.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, bro.
I'm not a scientist either, but I mean, the servers in the Wuhan lab go down right before they start reporting deaths. It's a little bit suspicious. The idea that,
but even if you go back to suspicion, is the doctor that kind of quote unquote discovered.
They're hiding something. They have to
that discovered the coronavirus. He was censored by the Chinese.
Well, they killed him. He went missing. He never came back.
He didn't survive COVID.
Allegedly. Yeah. You want to expose COVID? Fuck you. You die from COVID.
So I do agree to with you in the sense, it's kind of crazy to think about our government's going to do a bio war.
It's censorship and suppression of information. You're not going to tell us the full story. This is the picture you want to paint, but there's more to it, and you're not allowing us to know that information. And maybe that's a piece of the government. Maybe that's just propaganda from the media, then the story that they want to run with to generate more views and generate more revenue. But, I mean, the idea that you're going to call somebody a conspiracy theorist or call them wrong because of the idea that they're exploring that this might have been developed in a lab, I think it's just wrong.
Yeah, and I think there should be a White House committee investigating this, but where is it at? Why isn't there a White House committee investigating Fauci? Yeah. I mean, even somebody else. I mean, I know we're going off tangents now. We kind of talked about.
Fuck it, we're already canceled. Ain't nobody watching this shit. My mom's not even gonna watch this shit.
Hey, but I know another guy that was really heavily criticized was Senator Ron Paul.
Ron Paul's retired. It would probably be Rand Paul. Rand Paul's the one that Rand Paul's Ron Paul's son. He's the one that constantly goes after Dr. Fauci
in Kentucky.
Yes,
and a lot of people criticize him, but he's actually he's part of the medical community too.
Well, I think he's an eye doctor, so I don't think he's an eye doctor.
No, he went to Baylor.
Yeah,
School of Medicine, bro.
I think he's an eye doctor.
Put some respect.
Shout out! No. I fuck with libertarians. Shout out Ron Paul. I fuck with libertarians. That's me right there.
You think he would ever run?
Who?
Ron Paul.
He already ran. He lost.
The son?
The Rand Paul ran too. Rand Paul ran in 2016.
Oh, wow.
He lost. I think he was polling like third or fourth. But anyways, in conclusion, fuck COVID, fuck vaccine mandates, and fuck vaccine passports.
No, and we shouldn't live in fear. I think I think it's all it's not only like a physical virus to where like you get sick or whatnot, but it's also a mental virus in the sense to where we create obstacles, we create walls, and I think we shouldn't live in fear. I think I've preached that since not that I'm a preacher or anything, but I've always said like, hey, if you're gonna die, you're gonna die. I mean, there's no.
We're all gonna die someday.
I don't think you can prevent that.
Taxes and death, the only thing that are guaranteed in life.
And salvation in Jesus.
Allegedly.
Not allegedly. Anyways, but.
So for the record, Orlando and I agree on some things, but we have very different worldviews.
Yeah, but I think we should not live in fear. I think the moment that you live in fear is the moment that you lose your freedoms, and it's like John Hancock. I think he's the one that said it. Give me liberty or give me death.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna live in fears.
And so it's like, a lot of us are trying to lose our liberties and are okay with losing our liberties and I don't think it matters if you're a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian,
socialist, communist,
whatever.
Fascist, whatever term you want to throw.
I don't think we should give up our liberties.
Well, if you're a fascist or a socialist and communist, maybe. But
allegedly,
it's different. Shout out Bernie.
Hell
Bernie
no.
Bros, let's go.
Democratic socialist, but
no, but free healthcare, free college.
Oh, but someone's gonna end up paying for it though. Not me though. My grandchildren. I don't care about my grandchildren.
That's the thing. Money isn't free. Nothing is free in life. Everything has a price.
Shout out to Mr. George economics class. That's where I learned that valuable lesson. Nothing is free in life.
Yeah, whatever. There's no such thing as a free lunch, as the classical saying goes. But yeah, I think we agree for the most part on COVID. I think we're probably in the minority of people because I think at this point the majority of the country is vaccinated.
40%.
40%? Damn, that's fucking low.
Well, they lie. They consistently lie about the numbers, so I don't know what the true number is.
Well, I'm sure people lie in conversation too. Because are you vaccinated? Like, yeah, I'm vaccinated. Just to kind of get rid of that stigma. But
yeah, I ain't gonna lie. One time I lied about being vaccinated, but then I'm like, no, I'm not vaccinated.
Yeah,
I felt ashamed of myself for lying.
We agree on that. I mean, everybody's gonna have their own opinion. There's gonna be people who have strong opinions towards vaccination to protect others, to protect the elderly and stuff like that.
But if you have the vaccine, you don't have to worry about it because you won't get COVID and you can't spread it anymore.
Allegedly.
No, that's
shout out Dr. Fauci.
That's what they said.
Yeah, I mean that we think the same way. That's why I've personally come. to the
No,
conclusion.
but that's what they said though. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
why you don't
but
agree
that's
with
the
me.
government. Fuck the government. That's shout out Ron Paul, 2024.
No,
He's a little too old.
DeSantis.
I will take Rand Paul as a second. I want a libertarian. But, anyways, I think we should move on from COVID. I think we've said everything we had to say on that.
That was our list of conversation. 21 pandemics. Now we're gonna roll into 2022. So.
Yeah, so I think besides COVID, I think since Biden became president, COVID was probably the biggest concern for most people.
Well, I would say COVID, inflation.
The economy. No, well, inflation hadn't started taking place till that point.
Well, economy, inflation, and then I would say...
I guess stimmies, unemployment benefits, the child credits, whatever.
Vaccine mandates. But that's part of the pandemic, though. Yeah. And then the other thing I think that was really controversial was, other than social justice issues, we'll probably get that in the future. We'll probably talk about that in the future. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there's two sides of the stories, and I think they're so...
It's just polarizing either way, depending on how you look at it.
So you have people that agree on one side, you have people that agree on the other side, but at the end of the day, both parties were being dumbasses. So
I'd agree.
That's another... We'll try to talk about that in the future. We'll pencil it down into our notes. But the other thing that was pretty big was the withdrawal in Afghanistan.
Yeah, For sure.
So it's the Taliban has been pretty quiet, and I think it's just so funny how people are so quick to forget about. I remember whenever the U.S. troops started withdrawing, a lot of people were crying about, maybe not crying about, but really being social justice warriors about women's rights and whatnot. And I don't know what happened to all those people. I don't hear anything about them.
I think this is something that we're going to disagree on. I'm not upset at Biden for pulling out of Afghanistan.
No, I don't. I'm not saying. I think that was the right.
I think it was.
I think pulling out was always something that had to happen or should always happen. You know, if you're not trying to have kids,
Yeah.
make sure to pull out.
Pull out game strong.
Shout out
Trojan. You don't even got to pull out.
We're not sponsored. We're not sponsored.
Ultra Rib, his and her pleasure.
I don't know anything about that.
Shut the fuck up.
But I think there was a way to pull out of Afghanistan. We just didn't execute it correctly.
Okay, so I would like to preface everything that I'm about to say by saying it's not any of the service members' fault. Like, you don't join the military. You join the military for selfless reasons, for the most part, right? There's obviously some people who join because of the benefits, because it's, a job. It's a way to move up in life, free education, free healthcare, while you're in. But there's also a majority of the people who join because they truly want to serve their country. So the responsibility doesn't at all fall on their part. It comes from the politicians and the generals, the people higher up.
The advisors to the president.
From the get-go, the situation was fucked. You invaded Iraq on false pretenses because allegedly Saddam, who had weapons of mass destruction, although really he was selling oil in euros instead of dollars. That's an entirely different question. Also, shout out Gaddafi, who was trying to form a new currency backed by gold instead of USD. That's another question entirely.
Hey, but make sure to like and subscribe if you want to hear more of these topics.
Shout out if you want to hear more dumbasses talk about dumb shit. And then Afghanistan, which they were harboring Saddam. So, I mean, you had justification for that. But 20 years. Who are you fighting? You're like, at a certain point, you're not fighting the Taliban. Like, the more you kill them, the more their ranks increase. You kill their uncle, you kill their father, you kill their brother, a younger individual.
No, but it's not only them; it's their wives, their children, and
exactly. Like, it becomes an invasion of a nation. Like, I don't give a fuck what you're about. You're in my land. You're telling me how to live my life. You're telling me that how I live my life is wrong. Why the fuck should I believe you?
No, but the crazy part is that the Afghan army gave up themselves too.
Yeah, but I mean, the Afghan army was also high as fuck on hash most of the time, allegedly.
But allegedly, there's different stories that there were orders from above to give up. So
I'm the way I'm looking at it is kind of like zoomed out. I'm not looking at specifically the withdrawal.
No, if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it right.
Yeah,
maybe in a future episode. So make sure to like and subscribe.
The whole situation from the get-go was fucked. Our army is not, Green Berets, which I guess specialize in training in guerrilla warfare. But other than that, we have a very conventional army who fights on the ground, but they need air support. That's the same way we train the Afghans to fight. They need air support. What a fucking Air Force.
Hey, but shout out to the $1 billion that stayed back.
What a fucking Air Force does the Afghan army have? Besides the shit that we gave them. And to what capability do they have? And then when ISIS comes out, we're fighting ISIS. ISIS is fighting the Taliban. So we're in this little love triangle where we're attacking ISIS, indirectly helping the Taliban.
Shout out to Donald Trump. He eradicated ISIS, allegedly.
Allegedly. Even though now as soon as the bombings that killed the 3 service members right after the withdrawal, they blamed it on ISIS-K, which fuck the media, but whatever. It's propaganda.
But these are topics that we could definitely discuss in the future. And
my underlying argument is always going to be I don't trust the media and fuck the government. I don't trust shit that you tell me. Unless I read it and come to that conclusion myself, I don't give a fuck.
Well, I think we could both agree on that. Media is always going to be censored. and it's gonna be portrayed in the way that whoever controls it wants it to. So that's why, make sure to support our Patreon page so we can bring more. I'm just
fucking
kidding.
idiot. No, but to get back to the point, so I mean,
no, but let's go and wrap this up. Let's I'm closing arguments about everything, I guess.
The withdrawal from Afghanistan was going to be a shit show regardless. I don't think there was any way that you could have possibly, if Trump had been reelected, we would still be at war. They would have the generals and the military industrial complex would have tried to push him to the idea that if you try to withdraw, it's going to be a shit show. It's going to make you look bad, which it was. So he wouldn't have done it. I think that's my true belief. Regardless of the president or whoever was in charge at the time of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, it would have been a shit show. There was no way to win that. How are you going to win that? 20 years.
I don't know. I think just to wrap up my point of view is that I think if Donald Trump would have been president, he had a different idea of how to do it. I think there was already a plan, but I believe from what I've heard is that Biden wanted to make it his own plan. So some things were changed. Then again, it's something that already happened. Hopefully everything works out for the Afghan people. At the end of the day, it's not the governments that some governments do suffer, but it's the people that suffer and
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not the Afghan people's fault, but I mean, like, they're just caught between the crossfire, between two groups.
Yeah, and so
us being one of them.
So we'll see what happens in 2022. I mean, I'm excited for the future. We hope.
Excited, but also kind of scared.
A little bit.
I don't live in fear.
I don't live in fear, so I don't know if I'm scared or not.
Yeah,
but I'm excited. We're starting the podcast. This is episode number 2.
Allegedly.
Well, I don't know. We'll figure out the upload.
It might be episode 1, 2, or 3. We don't know yet.
Hey, no, but we're just a group of friends. This is Christian Guzman. I'm Orlando. Yeah. Shout out to our boys Leo and Chris. Yeah. Belon out there in Tennessee. Arnold and
Arnold Sanchez. Arnold Mujica, however depends how you look him up.
Shout out to the GOAT Banda.
Oh, shout out to La Perdida. Hola, pinche Bobby.
Out there in Washington D.C. He's gonna make real changes in Washington. D.C.
He's gonna make real. He's gonna be getting drunk with politicians on a regular basis.
I'm playing poker
because of Adrian alone. They will come up with immigration reform. That's how good of a guy he is.
He's a really good guy.
He's gonna advocate for everybody.
Hopefully he gets married soon. Hopefully we get invited to the wedding too.
But before we close, there's one more thing I want to talk about.
Go for it.
Inflation.
We're living it right now, man.
Do you think inflation would have occurred if Trump was still reelected? To the extent. And mind you, for those of you who are, I don't want to seem like a prick, but I guess don't keep up with this kind of shit. I think the CPI data for last month for year over year was 6%. But the parameters by which CPI, which is inflation, is measured, if you would have used the standards from the 70s, it would have been closer to 13%. So the Federal Reserve gets to decide what parameters they use to measure CPI, and they've changed that over the years. And now magically a number that, 50 years ago would have been 13% is now 6%.
No, I think we should have a whole different podcast to talk about this. Maybe we could do it in our next episode, but to just touch on the subject, inflation is due no matter what. The way that the Federal Reserve has been printing out money and the interest rates and all that stuff, it's bound to happen. But could it have been prolonged? Probably, because I know Biden's policies against China are not blaming China either, or any specific individual, but there's two different policies. I think Trump would have done anything in his power to make sure inflation didn't happen, at least while as he was president.
I beg to differ.
So I think
maybe he would have tried to force his hand, but
no. So I'm saying, like, I think, yes, it would have happened, but not at the degree that we're seeing it. Because Biden came in, he overturned a lot of policies. He, like you said, he signed a Green Deal policies.
I don't think it was a Green Deal. It was the Build Back Better.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Build Back Better.
So again, so that's why I would rather just do some research before I talk. But I do know he brought in a lot of policies to where, like, by 2030, no more gas cars, no more this, no more that. Let's. So I think a lot of it, it's just like, hey, the whole world is changing to greener, which I don't agree necessarily, but again, we can. I think we should sit down behind the scenes, create a whole list of things, of topics that are impacting inflation today, because inflation is being impacted by the whole global warming issue. So it's going to be a cold winter in Europe.
I would like to state for the record that Vladimir Putin is the biggest gangster in the world. By far,
he's part of,
and that's I want to do that entirely on our different podcasts.
And with your support, we could do that podcast in Russia. So make sure to like and subscribe.
We can do this in Moscow in the snow. We'll call each other comrades the whole time, the whole shebang. But I guess the way I would like to end the podcast after Orlando's statement, because I do have a lot to say about inflation. But I guess since we're gonna do it on a different podcast, I would like to say, buy Bitcoin. Fiat money ain't real money. Let's get it.
Thank you for tuning in. Episode number 2. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.